yesterday.
Alright y'all, it's about that time. Titans, it's finally your turn for a nuke build, and boy is this one a doozy. I call it Bonk Bonk Boom. This time I included lots of ways to customize it and make it your own, but at its core it still fulfills the nuke build principles. Make everything explode, near infinite abilities, and stupid high damage. This one is a fun one, so strap in, grab your favorite box of crayons, dim links are down in the description, and... Wait, what's happening?
Hammer time!
Oh, Jesus. So jumping straight into our subclass, we are obviously on Solar, and for this we are running Burning Maul, aka Pinball Wizard. It's fun, the cooldown is short, you swing around like you just ate a star from Mario. Run whatever jump, not like it matters, and I prefer Rally Barricade personally, and now finally to the stuff that actually matters. For this build we are using Throwing Hammer, aka Captain Bonk, as our melee. As good as Hammer Strike is, the idea that we can have a melee up all the time by picking up the hammer after throwing it is too good to pass up. Also, unlimited melees will come in handy for some shenanigans I have a little later, so throw that Bonk Hammer on and get ready for hammer time. Finally, the last piece to our core kit is the Fusion Grenade, and I did a lot of testing to figure out what was the highest damage dealing grenade relative to utility and cooldown, and Fusion by far came out on top. The base cooldown of 73 seconds, it is the second fastest cooldown behind Firebolt grenades and deals one of the highest initial bursts of damage among the grenades available. What I mean by this is, yes, there are other nades that deal more damage like the Thermite Grenade, but the Thermite Grenade requires less mobile opponents. So the Fusion Grenade has a great balance of high damage, very low cooldown, and being a sticky grenade is easy to use for someone like me who obviously has god tier aim. Moving into our aspects, we have Soul Invictus, where Solar ability Final Blows, Hammer of Soul impacts, and defeating scorched targets creates sunspots. What is a sunspot? Well, while standing in one, your melee and grenade have a 100% additional base regeneration rate. Your super drains more slowly, and it applies restoration for 5 seconds. Sunspots also apply scorch and deal damage to targets inside, so based on this, you can already assume that this build is all about lighting the entire world on fire, and you'd be right. That is the objective. Like, this is you. The next aspect we have is Roaring Flames, and no, this does not make your sunspots bark like a dog, even though some of you would probably be very interested in that. I don't judge, by the way, it's totally fine. That said, Roaring Flames states Final Blows with Solar abilities or ignitions increase the damage of your Solar abilities, stacks 3 times. While Roaring Flames is active, your uncharged melee attack deals Solar damage and scorches targets. At 1 stack of Roaring Flames, your ability damage is increased by 20%, 44% at times 2, and finally 73% at times 3. Again, you're starting to do some calculus in your head like in the last nuke build, similar to the song Schism by Tool, like... If you're thinking use the Bonk Hammer to increase nade damage, you'd be right, but not completely right. Finally, to our fragments, we have Ember of Benevolence, where applying Restoration, Cure, or Radiant to allies grants increased grenade, melee, and class ability regeneration for a short duration. This ties in with another fragment that we will talk about later. And by later, I mean now. Ember of Torches adds powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant. Given that Bonk Hammer has a really short cooldown, and by that I mean if you go and pick it back up, the game's like, sure, throw it again, why not? You came all this way, so hell, even have Cure with it. Oh, by the way, a core mechanic I didn't mention is pick up the hammer a short time after dealing damage, and it grants 1 stack of Cure. This isn't game-breaking healing, but it's nice, given that if you get...
Dude, you're skipping ahead. Save the cool synergy shit for later.
Oh, right. Sorry, y'all. ADHD goes burr sometimes. Anyway, with Ember of Torches making you and nearby allies radiant basically all the time, Ember of Benevolence is going to be up a lot. Anyway, Ember of Torches will make any ally within 8 meters radiant for a short duration, so keep passing out roids to all your friends at the gym because that's what friends do. Next, we have Ember of Ashes, which applies more scorch stacks to targets. 50% more to be exact. This is mostly there to apply to our sunspots we create on ability kills. Well, it starts as ability kills, then with this build, suddenly the whole room is on fire, so yeah. Finally, we have Ember of Empyrean, which states Solar, weapon, or ability Final Blows extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to you. This plays into sunspots as restoration time is only 5 seconds, so if you're just parked up in a sunspot continuing to kill things with a weapon we have yet to mention, or your abilities, you're going to be continuously healing. So, do you feel like a fire-breathing tank yet? Alright, so how does our Solar kit work together? Our Bonk Hammer when thrown procs Ember of Torches, making us and nearby allies radiant, which then kicks on Ember of Benevolence, giving us an additional 200% base ability regen rate. And if the Bonk bonks something, it fires up. You guys see what I did get there. Roaring Flames, buffing our ability damage and creates a sunspot, granting us restoration and additional ability regen rate. These sunspots start applying more Scorch to enemies due to Ember of Ashes, and if we stand in it and continue to get more kills with either our weapons or abilities, Ember of Empyrean keeps extending our restoration and Radiant if it's still up. And that is Bonk Hammer, and only Bonk Hammer. Our grenade basically does almost all of that as well, except for proccing Radiant. Ideally, that grenade gets 3 kills on detonation and rips you all the way up to Roaring Flames ×3, and you just unleash some roided out fiery havoc on anything in sight. So that is just our solar kit. But I think you guys are like, Teagues, you can do better. You're right, I can. Weapons. Guys, we have a ton of options here, but I settled on the following. In the kinetic slot, I played around with a Lingering Dread grenade launcher, specifically with Chill Clip. Arguably the most clever name for a perk in the game, Chill Clip states direct hits with the top half of the magazine cause a detonation that slows nearby targets. A great option for dealing with situations where you need some serious crowd control, Chill Clip will eventually stack up to causing targets to freeze, but slow is plenty good enough. In addition to Lingering Dread, I also messed around with a shotgun that had 1-2 punch, which will significantly buff Bonk Hammer's bonk damage. All that said, you can really run whatever you want in the slot, because our next weapon is Prometheus Lens. Prometheus Lens is an exotic solar trace rifle that was first introduced back in Season 2. It is famous for its one weekend where it was wreaking havoc on the Crucible like Lord of Wolves.
Lord of Wolves is still wreaking havoc, Teagues.
Shut up, bro, I know. It's available from World Drop, so all of you should have one, unless you're part of the 7% that doesn't, according to Light.gg. Prometheus Lens comes with the exotic perk Prismatic Inferno, which fires a solar trace beam that creates a field of heat energy that grows as the weapon is fired. Sustained damage applies Scorch to targets. Scorch is the key word there, y'all. Prometheus's intrinsic perk is Flame Refraction, where kills with this weapon return a fraction of the ammo used to the magazine from reserves, extending the beam's duration. This is subsistence on steroids. This seems fine. The damage this thing deals is wild, and adding Scorch to this thing plays into this build in several ways that I'm sure you can figure out, but don't worry, I'll show you in a bit. There are some other weapons you can run here like Sunshot, Tikus, or any legendary weapon with the perk Incandescent. Actually, that last option is kind of nasty, like seriously, a Callus mini tool with Incandescent is borderline exotic strong in the right build. Moving finally to our heavy weapon, we are bringing an old favorite back out with Ascendancy, a legendary rocket launcher from Season 15 as the ritual weapon. Ascendancy was the first rocket launcher to come with explosive light, and for this build, we will absolutely be taking advantage once again of its explosiveness. Explosive light states that picking up an orb of power increases the next projectile's blast radius and damage. It boosts damage by 25% for rocket launchers and by around 52% on grenade launchers according to the D2 data compendium. So some of you are probably like, why not Hothead or Palmyra B? Well, neither of those weapons are solar. They're good options, and if you need that shield type, feel free to run them, but I want solar. I'm sure some of you can probably guess why. In addition, Ascendancy is the easiest to obtain, given that it is available from the Monument to Lost Lights in the Legacy section. If you do decide to run a legendary weapon as your primary, like Tatless Mini Tool, what exotic should come in? Parasite. With this build, some illegal stuff happens when Parasite is fully juiced, and it does sack with the utter bullshit I have coming up. Parasite, in a nutshell, is all about rewarding you for killing a ton of ads, or around 20 to be exact, by giving you a 200% damage bonus that deletes bosses. So yeah, Parasite is a super fun option, or you could just throw on Gallarhorn and be done with it. The choice is yours. Now to the good stuff. All of my crooked shenanigans that makes these builds worth coming back to. Armor and mods. Mods first, then stats. On our helmet, we have Harmonic Siphon, where rapid weapon final blows with damage matching your subclass type create an orb of power. Prometheus. That's all I'm gonna say. Next, we have Ashes to Assets, which is essential in any grenade-based build, where you gain bonus super energy on grenade kills. As you remember from the Master of Chaos build, which, by the way, if you haven't seen that video, link is in the top right and down in the description, Ashes to Assets basically gave us a Nova Bomb every 30 seconds in the right scenarios. Well, get used to seeing this mod for me. It never really comes off. Finally, we have Explosive Wellmaker, where rapidly defeating combatants with explosive damage spawns a solar elemental well. If you guys are new to my nuke builds, I make everything explode at all times. This is a requirement for these builds. Like for real, Master of Chaos is named what it is because there are so many explosions going off, your game may drop frames or crash. Sorry, not sorry. Am I a little messed up in the head for enjoying watching things go boom all the time? Maybe, but you clicked on this video, so you are too. Embrace it. Moving on to our arms, we have room for a champ mod if you want, and impact induction, where causing damage with a melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. Rounding out our arms, we have elemental charge, which makes you charged with light when you pick up an elemental well. Bonus stack if the well matches your subclass. But wait, this wouldn't be one of my build videos if I didn't give you options, right? If you want the most absurd survivability build that stacks with sunspots, put Well of Life here instead. Well of Life life states that picking up a solar elemental well grants increased regeneration for a short period of time. 13 HP per second for 11 seconds with each solar well refreshing the duration, and this shit lasts even through you taking damage. So yeah, dying is unlikely unless you get inside an enemy, like really inside them. Like, am I allowed to say this?
Just do it, bro.
Inside them like Ant-Man and Thanos. Dude, why did you write that?
It's funny, bro. F off.
I mean, I guess. Moving to our chest, we have reached our exotic of choice for this build, Heart of Inmost Light. Heart of Inmost Light comes with the exotic perk Overflowing Light, where using an ability empowers the other two abilities. Empowered means abilities have faster regen, melees and grenades do more damage, and barricades have more hit points. Now, let's break this down. Ability use grants 1 stack of empowered to the other abilities. Bonk Hammer is back and is looking for things that resemble nails. Also, yes, I did say 1 stack. So if you throw a Bonk Hammer once, empowered grenade gets a stack, and barricade continues to sit there because for this, it doesn't matter. You then throw another Bonk Hammer and now you have empowered grenade times 2. This boosts grenade damage by 20% at 1 stack and 35% at 2 stacks, and boosts regen by 400% at 1 stack and 800% at 2 stacks. We get a hashtag balanced in the comments. After throwing a grenade or putting that barricade that is still sitting there up, empowered melee will pop up, granting 10% bonus damage at 1 stack and 20% at 2 stacks with the same 400% and 800% regen boosts at 1 and 2 stacks respectively. You are probably already putting the gameplay loop together, but wait, there's more. For mods, we are throwing an Armor of the Dying Star if you want. Really, any resist mod you want here is fine, or hell, even a reserves mod is great too. Rounding it out, we have High Energy Fire, where while charged with light, gain a bonus to weapon damage. Each defeated combatant consumes 1 stack of Charge with Light. Now earlier we talked about substituting the Charge with Light half of this build to something with survivability for endgame content. If you do decide to take this option, I would put Elemental Ordnance in its place, where defeating a combatant with a grenade spawns an elemental well that matches your subclass energy. More wells never hurt nobody. Moving right along to our boots, we have a Scav mod. Again, this is totally up to you, and Font of Might. On our Master of Chaos video, I got a lot of comments from people thinking that this mod isn't available anymore because it was an artifact mod. It was an artifact mod, but it was only on there as a cheaper option using 1 energy rather than the regular 4 energy it normally takes. So yes, everyone, this mod is still in the game and will continue to be. I believe it is currently available from the war table in the helm, but fact check me and let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. So after all that, why do we want Font of Might? Font of Might states that picking up an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type grants a temporary bonus to weapon damage of the same elemental type. This is a 25% buff that may not seem like a lot, but as we talked about in Master of Chaos, it stacks with everything. This build so far is about having abilities all the time, juicing them up to do things that should be illegal, and now having those abilities roid out your weapons. Running at our armor, our class item is going to have seasonal mods, and I'll get this out of the way early. If you're watching this after the end of the season, substitute in anything that is a current mod that will either offer the same function or hell, something else that sounds fun. I will do my best to update a pinned comment next season with whatever I would substitute in. That said, for the remainder of this season, we are using Flame Harvesting, where Solar Exotic Final Blows create Solar Elemental Wells, and Solar Fulmination, where your ignitions do increased damage in an increased radius. Prometheus is going to more than handle creating elemental wells with Flame Harvesting, and Solar Fulmination makes your booms bigger. Call it natural enhancement for explosions. Finally, we have Bountiful Wells, which basically doubles all of our well creation mods. So if Flame Harvesting creates a well, Bountiful makes it 2, Explosive Well Maker makes 1, and Bountiful doubles it. For stats, I'll keep this brief. My focus or priority would be Resilience. Besides turning us into a juggernaut by providing us a stupid 40% damage resist in PvE, it also makes our barricade cooldown lower, which will feed into regenning your nade and melee faster. Next after that would be Recovery, Discipline, Intellect, Strength, and Mobility, because no one cares about mobility on Titan because chunk tank. All right, how does it all stack together? So remember Bonk Hammer, this thing? Okay, now add Heart of Inmost Light, juicing your grenade damage and regen, and add any explosions. Ignitions get bonus boom with Solar Fulmination, creating wells with Explosive Well Maker. The grenade is basically doing the same thing, creating wells. Ideally, you go bonk bonk nade to maximize your gains. Then use your barricade to top those abilities off if you need. Those elemental wells flow into regenning abilities, and then going into Font of Might and Elemental Charge for High Energy Fire that will also stack with Explosive Light on Ascendancy. Prometheus is here scorching targets and creating elemental wells with Flame Harvesting. Add in 1-2 Punch if you're running it, and that'll boost our Bonk Hammer. Now, after I finished making this build, throwing the Bonk Hammer and grenades made me forget about my weapons. Don't forget them. They are there and deserve love. That said, if you run the Parasite variant, you won't forget its damage. You can't. It's, yeah. So guys, that is our first ever Titan build on the channel, and this one was way too fun to make. If you have any tweaks or anything you'd change, let me know in the comments down below. With Arc 3.0 coming, I cannot wait to punch literally everything and put out something absolutely terrifying. So make sure you're subscribed and have the bell triggered to know when that video comes out. That said, as promised, I will have a Void Titan build and a Void Hunter build coming at some point, probably after Arc 3.0 gets its turn. Let me know which one you want first down in the comments. Smack that like button if you enjoyed some more Guardians Can Blow Everything Up. And until the next nuke build, I've been Teagues. You've been beautiful. Peace.